Well, welcome to another time with us on our visitation with good troublemakers. Today I have two amazingly wonderful troublemakers, Nick Mottern and Priscilla Lynch, who are part of Demilitarize Western Mass. And just as a reminder, in case, what is good trouble? Well, it was made popular and became now iconic thanks to John Lewis, the former congressman who had gone across the Pettus Bridge and almost lost his life. And he encouraged us all to make good trouble. And so you got the message, and you got the memo, and you've been doing it for quite a while. You're part of this Demilitarize Western Mass, and before the program we were talking about, well, what is the history of demilitarize? And maybe you'd like to sort of bring people up to date, because it's quite a remarkable lineage.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it goes back to the American Friends Service Committee in Northampton, when they had a group of people that worked on demilitarization and specifically targeted what is now the L3 Harris technologies up on Hospital Hill, but was originally Cole Morgan down on King Street in Northampton. And that was the beginning, and they did a lot of work. And then the American Friends Service Committee closed their Western Mass office, and the locals kept it going as a resistance center, and a group of people continued to keep the demilitarization piece going, even through COVID, even through the closure of the resistance center, which was, I'm not sure when, sometime before COVID, so
maybe
about
4 years ago,
2019 or something like that. And then we just decided, the people that were working at it at that point, decided we would just go out on our own and become Demilitarize Western Mass and continue to confront L3 Harris technologies.
Yeah. So I think this is a good time to just honor those ghosts of resistance past. And I think Frances Crowe and Emily Uggins was a young woman who was a student at Northampton High School who did the research for the Resistance Center into L3 Harris, which was, at that time, I think it was L3 Keo.
Correct.
You know, it's, we can change the name, but not the game. And the game is really this war game. And so here you are in this latest iteration with that good lineage. And just so our audience does know, I'm a part of this august group, so I'm not being totally objective, whatever that's supposed to be, because we know it doesn't exist anyway. So, but yes, but I wanted to have you here to share with our viewers what you're doing, and hopefully inspire them to do more, because these are times that require us to do everything we can to make peace and justice. So I see, Nick, you're wearing this "I am an immigrant," Veterans for Peace. We're also, yes, part of a conglomeration of people. There are people, Veterans for Peace, Code Pink, and other groups who are part of the Demilitarize. It's quite a loose affiliation, but it's interesting when I say it's a loose affiliation. It's really a very tight affiliation in the sense of dedication, and labels don't matter as much as willingness to take risks, and you've both certainly been doing that. So back to your shirt, "I am an immigrant," and you were wearing that, you said, today, and got some reaction. So you want to tell us about that?
I do, yes.
Now today, let's just let people know, because this will be broadcast later. Today is September 12th, and Charlie Kirk has recently been assassinated, and there's a lot of media about that, about what the violence he proposed and was a proponent of, and everybody I have heard from almost across the board, it has really condemned the violent killing of him. I've heard more people say, I don't agree with a word he said, but it didn't deserve to be assassinated. So now that I've gone on that little tangent, let's go back to the I'm an immigrant. And
Well, I think that this has caused a lot of conversation about the danger that people of color have been put to. And I think there has been a concern that there will be people who are his fans who will undertake violence against people of color from other countries and here. Whether that's well-founded or not, I don't know, but that's the conversation. So today I decided to wear this T-shirt that says, you know, I'm an immigrant. Somebody asked me on the street, who was a Trump supporter actually, where was I from? And so I told him I was from England and Scotland and Germany and France. My people got here probably early 1800s. And he said, well, I'm, you know, I'm a native of this country because I'm a citizen. And he said, I'm also a native person because you see my skin is brown from, well, it's being tanned, actually. And so when I was coming up from downtown where I live to the city hall for our Friday protest stand out from noon until 1, people I encountered, and mostly women, saw me carrying this Palestinian flag and my shirt, and some smiled, some said, you know, thank you. And so it was very interesting because when I had taken that same walk every week, that has never happened before. And so when I was coming back, I got in front of First Churches coming down Main Street from City Hall into my house. And a woman, probably I'd say early 70s, you know, said, may I take your picture? And I think her friend, her husband was with her. And she looked to me like she was from India. But then we started talking. It turned out she was from Mexico. So she wanted to talk about the Scheinbaum, who's a woman who's the president of Mexico, how the woman was helping indigenous people. She said, I'm a citizen of this country, but I still got these concerns, you know, for people in Mexico. So we had a really, for, you know, walking down the block, quite an interesting conversation. So I came to the intersection, cut across, and there were two women. I think they were Arabic women. I don't know where they were from, but they were wearing, you know, hijab and their long normal gowns, and probably 20s, maybe something like that. And they stopped me and said, well, may we take your picture? Because they liked it, that I had the flag too. So I did, and then a black woman came out of Anna Bandera Cafe, and she wanted to take my picture too. I don't know how but there was something really very, very different today than anything I've ever encountered on the street. And I think it may be because of the combination of my shirt and the flag. And then finally I got down the block to Local Burger, and there were two women probably in their 20s having their lunch, but the window's open there. And so one of them waved it to me, you know, and said, thank you for having the flag. So I think people's emotions are very heightened right now.
Yes.
And it was very, very interesting to me and very heartening too, you know.
Yeah. So what do you think of that?
It makes me think that, this is what anybody can do. This is what we all can do to make a statement, to be brave, to be welcoming to others that are out there that are afraid and scared for what might happen to them in this country now. And to see people like you, you know, or me, or on the streets wearing these pins or T-shirts or whatever. I bet it helps them to feel safer.
That's probably right. Because I didn't really think I was on some, mission. Because I carry this, I unfurl the flag and walk up the street anyway. But in this particular time, I think what you're saying is right, that it is heartening to people who are feeling like they may be a target.
Mm-hmm. I think, I'm curious. This is a very interesting tack you're both taking, because I'm listening to other pundits talking about the split, the schism here, and how we can go back to having discourse that is not violent. I mean, even the discourse. How can we curb this violence? Now,
Well, I could answer that, I think, a little bit, because we did encounter this pro-Trump, pro-Charlie Kirk person, and his sign said, American flag, U.S. flag, R.I.P. Charlie. And so he said, these are radical leftists who want to kill everybody.
Pointing to you?
He said, yeah. Well, not. He was just saying that to me.
Yes.
And so I said to him, well, tell you the truth, if you want to call me, I'm a radical leftist. I wish, maybe more so. But I don't want to kill anybody. And as a matter of fact, I'm not even for the death penalty. I don't want to go to war. And so that made him think, well, that's different, because if you don't want to kill anybody, that takes kind of the wind out of that whole sale of these are crazy people who want to kill people, because we had to talk to each other face to face. It wasn't on some, internet, so-called conversation. And I was listening to a New York radio station called WBAI when I was driving this morning. And there was a woman named Arnie Arneson, who's from New Hampshire.
Yes.
And she's a politician, commentator. And so she was saying how it's very difficult for somebody who says on the internet, I want to see all these people dead. And it just goes out there. But to see face to face somebody to say, I want you dead,
yes,
that's a whole nother matter. Yeah. And I think that we may be underestimating how much the impersonality and anonymity of the internet contributes to hateful, back and forth. Now, did I convert this person that I spoke to, this young man? I don't think so. But he had a whole lot less to say to me about how evil I was, or how, that just went away. So it was very interesting.
Yeah.
Because the killing thing, you could say one of the most revolutionary things in the world would be to say we're not going to kill people.
Yes. No
death penalty. We're not going to enforce our will by killing people. Because we're angry and we don't like. No, we want to steal their stuff. No, we're not. We might steal it, but we're not going to kill them while we're doing it. I mean, and so it's a very interesting defining thought.
Yes.
That means, then we can't go to war. That would be different.
Yes,
in human history.
Or sending money for others to go to war.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's an interesting thing that I just between him and me.
Yeah. So you were about to say something.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know why people are surprised by how violent it is, or the violence that's taking place, because we are a pretty violent country.
Yep.
We have been violent towards people from day one, over and over again. And, if that's what's modeled for you, that's what you're going to respond, and how you're going to respond. And we don't take care of our people. We don't take care of one another and ourselves. That's violence in its own. To make, children go without breakfast or lunch, take away their school lunch programs, or take away people's homes so that investors can buy them and, raise the rent so you can't afford to live there.
Yeah, good,
That's
really good.
pretty violent.
Yes.
Yep.
That's pretty violent. And, unless we want to change who we are as a people, I don't think we're going to change much of this. Yes, it's okay now for someone to say, I think those who don't agree with Bush should be executed on TV, which is something that this man has said.
Yeah.
You mean Trump?
No, Charlie.
No, but I mean, you said disagree with Bush should be.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sometimes
It's
I do
hard
that.
to-
Bush
it's hard
and
to
Trump because
separate
it's
who are these
hard.
people,
It's
right?
true. It's more
Yep.
of the same.
Yes.
I mean, the weapons of mass destruction, babies in ovens, that's what they told us about Iraq.
Yes.
If that ain't, and it was a lie.
Yeah.
That's pretty violent.
Yeah.
So we have to really, I think, change who we are and how we do things.
It's interesting, talking about, we started with this wonderful legacy of AFSC and the work, and now you're talking about that other legacy, that, the violence of the Western Europeans when we first arrived on this Turtle Island. And it hasn't abated. I mean, sometimes I think, what is this, the Wild West?
Yes.
Well, I think that has become kind of an ideal image of life, that when, make America great again, it's all about the frontier, about white male dominance. And so working back from the, cowboy kind of image, because what do cowboys do? Well, they got a problem. Yeah.
Go to the OK Corral. Yeah.
Yeah, there used to be this gun smoke on the radio and then on television. And the thing begins, because I always used to listen to this show, it says, in Dodge City and the territories on West, there's only one way to handle the killers and the spoilers. That's with the U.S. Marshal and the smell of gun smoke.
Aha.
Right?
Yep.
So the culture is so totally devoted to that.
And maybe that's, it's interesting because I keep asking, whatever happened to diplomacy? And I don't think it's probably ever really been the privileged way that the United States of America deals. That I think it's the last resort. But this, because we do have these two trajectories. We have the history of violence that continues, and we have the history of resistance to violence. And I think we're certainly part of swimming in that second trajectory. But we've all been influenced. And so the question, I think, is, and particularly, we're recording this in the aftermath of the Charlie Kirk killing, and it really certainly brings to the fore the crisis that this country is in.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think if death is your primary way to, get what you want, then this is the path we're on and have been on, but now it's even accelerated. My opinion is the corporations of the U.S. and the West are in trouble around the world because more people are waking up and resisting them. So Trump is not just one person. He's representative of very wealthy people who want the U.S. to reassert control. And so now we have, we want to go down and make Venezuela an enemy. And it doesn't ever say, nobody says they have probably the largest oil reserve in the world off the coast of Venezuela. Yeah. So these 11 people who got killed in this boat, that's, they died for what we view as U.S. oil, in my opinion. And I've done a lot of work on drone warfare, and it's very interesting because Trump's being criticized for killing them, but that was done with a drone, and Obama did tons of that
Yes.
with the same ill-defined images on the drone operator screens. Biden did that. And so this is our American way of war that Trump he's next in line. So I'm not saying, oh, he's really a good person. I'm saying he does what we do.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so the job of the resistance is to stop that and to shift the trajectory. And what are your thoughts as Demilitarize about how to do that, and how successfully are we doing it? I mean, I love the response of people today to seeing you with the shirt and your flag.
Well, I think we have to acknowledge, too, that the three of us have been arrested in the lobby of L3 Harris. And you say, how do we go about this? And so maybe you all want to comment on how is it that what are we up to getting arrested and what going on trial and this and that?
Yeah, so I think Demilitarize Western Mass began to create a focus on direct action. 2-3 years ago, we began talking about it and wanting that to be our focus. And there were a number of us who had done direct action for quite some time in our lives and in the area and had experience with that. And so, I think we chose that as our avenue for doing this, or for bringing it to the forefront.
Because people might not know what you're talking about.
Well, there's all kinds of direct action.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
We've kind of chosen to do direct action, which usually results in an arrest. So what we've done is we've blocked the L3 Harris entrances, or we've occupied their lobby, refused to move, refused to let vehicles in, so much so till the police get called and the police say, if you don't move, we have to arrest you. We say, we're not moving, they arrest us. And, after all of those events, we have gotten really positive response from people who want to join us, people who come just because that's what we do. The other thing that's really unique about us is we're really multi-generational. We have folks of all stripes and sizes and ages, and it's really heartening, I think, for us. It is for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's lovely to learn from each other.
Yes. Yeah.
But right now we're involved with a court case. We're charged, all of us, with trespass and disorderly conduct. And I think something that's new about this process is that we've decided we want to have a jury trial rather than plead out or pay a fine or that. So we should say that we have a trial scheduled at the moment for December 18th. And we'll be in court, I think, on November 12th.
And that's
Again,
November District Court
in
Northampton. Northampton, yes. Yeah. I think it is important to do that, to let people know that that's happening, and that that part of what this particular arrest and follow-up is to try to plead the necessity defense. That it's been used in Europe and in the British Isles before, but it hasn't been successfully used here, and our courts are really loath to implement it.
Right.
But what does the necessity defense mean? I think is the question, and how does our getting into good trouble further that, bring that to the fore, to say, I mean, sometimes, we listen to the discourse, and it's who's got the biggest guns and who's going to, just do the most violent things they can do. And here we are, that demilitarized, getting rid of the military out of Northampton, out of the the second congressional district of Massachusetts. So how do we how do we get more people involved and help people get from that place of, well, we've always had war, we'll always have war, to another vision.
Right. Yep.
You know.
Well, I think part of it is when, and for all of us, I think we have seen people who get arrested or who in other ways present themselves as objecting. It inspired me to do these things. And I think it's a very, very personal thing in the sense that you don't know who's watching, and for some reason they feel a personal connection with you or your story or whatever, and then that inspires other people. It's a slower process, but it definitely is something that I think people are encouraged by, just the way they were, on the street.
And I think that from early on, one of our messages was convert to peace work. So, you don't have to leave. You can stay. Just stop making what you're making and make something useful and life-affirming.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And because people have jobs, people need jobs. You want to take those jobs away from people? People will say to us, no, we don't. We just want them to make something that is really useful and helpful to all of us.
I mean, right now in Northampton, they make periscopes for submarines that carry, U.S. submarines that carry nuclear missiles. And so we also have a huge interest now in undersea exploration, what we don't know, and so they could be making periscopes and what they call photonic masts, which are kind of electronic camera periscopes, that could be used for all kinds of purposes. And so that's what we could say, let's do that, but that's against the defense, quote unquote, now the war of the United States.
Well, I think, it's an interesting thing, is it, what is true defense? True defense of a country is having children fed well enough. True defense of a country is having people housed. True defense is having an income that is life affirming. So I think, I think we're part of that force to break this narrative that it's either you're killing or we're killing. But no, there's a third way. And we could go back to those French philosophers or whoever we want to say, yes, there is another way, and that's the vision. It is not killing anybody.
Well, I think, excuse me, go ahead, Priscilla.
No, go.
Yeah. Most people, I think, don't realize that the United States is borrowing money to conduct these wars. And that started with the 9/11 business. Because up to that time, it was pay-as-you-go, war bonds, things like that. And presidents got, Truman had to drop out because people got sick of paying for the Korean War. And Johnson, he had his problems with paying for the Vietnam War politically. So they decided, let's borrow money. So I have 7 great-grandchildren. Those kids are going to be paying interest on the loans that we've billions. And they say U.S. debt, well, it's, let's say, 39 billion, a trillion right now.
Yes.
A third of that is borrowing to enable these wars to happen. If it had to come out of taxpayers' pockets directly right now, this would not be happening, in my opinion. Because people would say, wait a minute, what's going on here?
And if there were still a draft.
Yes,
Yeah.
But the money part of this is concealed.
Yes.
Because these wars have been conducted on behalf of corporations, period.
And I think the other thing that we at Demilitarize, and a lot of groups recognize this and understand it too, is that it's not just about the military or the weapons they're making. It's also these technologies that are being used against all of us, against immigrants, all our surveillance, all of the tracking devices, you know, that really interferes with our freedoms, and the abolition, you know, the way our carceral system does and has operated. I mean, if we're really going to get rid of militarization, we've got to address all of these things.
Yes, we do.
And we have to look again, not only at who we are and who we have been, but also these great myths about ourselves, because we can't be different if we still hang on to those myths that we're the best in the world, that we're so free, that we're the richest and brightest. I don't think that's true anymore. I think it was true at one point.
Well, I used to, think about how did we become the richest nation? Well, we had how many millions of people working for no wages?
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's interesting too about how we hear, for instance, look at Amazon as a consumer goods company. But right now, Demilitarize Western Mass and River Valley for Palestine, we have a boycott going against Whole Foods because they're owned by Amazon. Amazon and Microsoft have a contract with the Israeli government for $1.2 billion to use their cloud services, their data sorting on Palestinian people, other people in the Middle East, so that they can be targeted and killed or enable a genocide to roll. Amazon Web Services that's part of the contract. And Amazon Web Services also is employed by the CIA to gather information. And there's sometimes security cameras around run by something called Flock Safety. And that is fed also into Amazon Web Services cloud. There's one posted up by Lowe's near the steakhouse in Hadley. So when we think about Amazon, we have to think about all of Amazon.
Yes.
And in the contract that Amazon has with the Israeli government and Microsoft, they've agreed you will not stop providing services because there are boycotts or strikes against you. So it's very interesting that everybody's well aware that if the public becomes knowledgeable, then they may want to pull out. And so this is very deep in terms of how these internet companies operate, because they're very more and more becoming part of the military. And people think, well, you know, I want to buy this book and get it tomorrow morning. And so I'm going to, and so we have to say, well, we'll vote for it with our money on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, this is a whole different way of thinking, and people are really inducted into getting things, that instant gratification. I want this book, Amazon will deliver it in 72 hours. No, 48. Hey, take that. You know, and instead of going to your local independent bookstore, that what we're doing is we're supporting people who are doing nothing for you, nothing for me.
But see, you won't find us out on MSNBC about what Amazon's involved with, or on Fox, obviously, or any of these other places that people go, you know.
But you will find out on the L3 website where their CEO has printed or published his letter that he sent, was it to Trump? Where, you know, he wants him to know that, you know, L3 Harris is ready to be of assistance and help in all of this, and we're going to shorten the kill chain. We're here to shorten the kill chain, which means that time from action to the death of someone or some things.
You identify the target, and then the quicker you can kill them, the better. And of course,
shorten the kill chain.
Shorten the kill. We're here to shorten the kill chain for you.
That this is even. I mean, you talk about obscenities. That's even part of the discourse. You know,
he dares to say it.
Yes. Right. And brag about it.
And brag about it.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, this is something that, because of computer gathering, because this is always a challenge of the military, kill people as soon as possible, as soon as I recognize them. The problem is that this electronic identification, even through a drone, or a periscope or whatever, is very imperfect. And so part of it is just to terrorize people. Oh, we made a mistake, too bad. At least we scared the hell out of them. And that's what Trump wants to do, too, is kill the people in the boat. Oh, that'll scare somebody else to not do anything. But it has never worked that way. It didn't work that way in Afghanistan with drones. That's one reason we got kicked out of there. The people kept getting more. I mean, it was a recruiting process is really what was going on. And that's what's happening in Latin America, too.
So part of Demilitarize Western Mass, is about doing away with the notion of fear. I just heard today, that our lawmakers, AOC among them, it says people are scared to death. And
well, they canceled one. She canceled, and
yes.
so did someone else.
Right.
Yeah. And do you think? I'm just appalled at how we just collapse in, and say, no, we will not be bullied. We will not be afraid. We will not have our lives disrupted by what?
Right.
But, so, yeah.
Yeah, plenty of people have been very brave in some of the things that they have done and pay for it. You know? I think we've been very fortunate in this area that we've been able to act and not been treated harshly.
Yeah.
And so I say, get out there and do it,
because
it's not as safe for everyone.
Yeah.
Right.
Nothing's a guarantee, but...
Right. Well, that slogan, courage is contagious.
I've been doing this for years. I still don't have a criminal record. I may after this trial, but,
Oh, I think you must.
No, I don't.
No.
I've never found guilty of...
Yeah.
And when I think we look at the Palestinians now, those people are really courageous. They're determined to stay on their land.
Yes.
And would rather die. It's really not that they want to die.
Right.
But they're just not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's been going on since early 1900s, even earlier than that.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm reading a book now about a woman. It's a narration of her life in Nazi Germany when Jews were starting to be deported, quote unquote, to concentration camps. And one of the things that some Jews wanted to do was to go to Palestine, because this was in the early, mid-1930s, when that was viewed as a place where they would be safe. But at that time, the Jews and the Palestinians were living together in a much more normal way than what it developed after World War II. And so it's a very interesting thing to see how Palestine was part of that conversation, at a time when I wasn't even aware of that. Yeah.
I mean, to shift to, because that obviously Demil is very much aware of Palestine and very supportive of the Palestinian resistance and the desire of Palestinians to live. This slaughter is just it's astounding to me that every day we wake up and we hear more people have been killed, and where is the outcry? I used to think, okay, so there were violent things happening in this country, on this continent, but there weren't newspapers that got everything. Everybody didn't read the New York Times.
No.
But today, there's no excuse for not knowing what's going on in the world, and I'm amazed that this continues to happen, and that sometimes I think, I love it when we can do these actions, because at least they feel like you're doing something, but really to actually change policy, it feels so futile.
Yeah. Well, I think, too, part of it is that, okay, we have a case, and I think it was yesterday, where Israel went and bombed 2 newspapers in Yemen. They have a policy of killing journalists.
Yes.
Here, a place like the Gazette, we've tried to get them to do an editorial in support of journalists who've been killed and put it on their front page. No, they didn't want to do that. Springfield Republican wanted to do that and did it before we even talked to them. Some places in Europe, in the Middle East, they blanked out their front page when these killings happened. So if you have the press here picking up the line of the Israeli government and giving that credence in these various stories from AP, Reuters, and whatever, New York Times, very pro-military Israel approach to the world, people here are not getting information that they need. And then there's another group of people in the public, and I have people in my family this way, a few. Oh, this makes me upset. I don't want to read it. I don't want to hear about it. And nobody says, that's irresponsible as a human being and a citizen at this particular time to feel like, oh, I've got the perfect right to not know anything in the middle of a slaughter like this. And so there's a lot of things working that were not in the 60s working this way.
Did you ever, I used to wonder, how could there be a know-nothing party? And now we know.
Yeah. And I think that's really, really a testament to people who are still out in the street and still doing these different things, knowing of this kind of this sodden sort of view of life. I just want to get through the next day and this and that. It's like, okay, well, there's more to life than eating and reproducing and, and entertainment, going to work.
Yeah, and even this whole No Kings movement.
Yes.
It's important. Yeah, we need to address this. But it isn't inclusive. It isn't talking about what we're doing to other people. People are only, we're going to respond because this is about us.
Yes.
They're not thinking of other people.
And that's where I think it's really been incumbent on us to bring that, to expand it. Because I think it's goodwill, but it's how do we enforce it? How do we expand the story, the narrative? And yes, we have got to be there with the international dimensions. And I mean, it's interesting. We look at demilitarization and that little brief, that thumbnail sketch of the U.S. as the cops of the world, and what we pay and what our grandchildren will pay for this folly. It's absolute folly.
Well, it hasn't got anything to do with cops. It has to do with extortion at gunpoint. And that's, it's all, well, we're trying to help. No, we're not trying to help the rest of the world. We're trying to get certain things, and we're going to kill to get it if it comes to that.
Yes.
And so if you look at it from that perspective, then things make a whole lot more sense than saying, well, we're very charitable with our police to go around the world. That's not what's happening.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And the thing is, we're that voice crying in the wilderness. And so how do we amplify that?
Right.
And I think sometimes it is, going to the indivisible protests. It is sometimes just walking around the streets with your flag and the T-shirts that have a message that wherever we are, we're imparting that message.
Right.
There is an alternative. Yes.
Yeah, and our legal systems and our political systems, people in those are saying, get out there and do this.
Yes.
They're saying that.
Yeah.
In court, when a couple of us were asked to change our T-shirts when we were there last, and they were very apologetic. It's not like we don't agree with you. We just have to be neutral here, you know?
Yeah.
Or when we were leaving one other time after someone had been arrested, and she was saying to the people who do the check you through the detector and all, you know, she's leaving, and she was saying, you know, you're going to have to do something and say something at some point. And this other court officer who was kind of in front of me walking along was just saying, that's right.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so I think doing these kind of things does help others to think
Absolutely.
more and learn more,
Yeah.
and
And I think it's wherever we are. You know, we attended a church service a few weeks ago that was very pro-Palestinian, just to raise that whole issue. And what it made me think of is, years ago I worked for Clergy and Laity Concern during the Vietnam War, and that was a powerful part of the resistance. And I was thinking about Bonhoeffer and mostly the Protestant churches in Germany, and they what were they called? They called themselves the confessing church. Mm-hmm. That they said, if you're part of this church, you have got to stand up for the Jews. You've got to stand up for justice. You've got to stop the genocide.
Right.
You know, and I think, you know, what would it take to get the churches in this country to become confessing churches? Mm-hmm. You know.
I think that's interesting too, because there's a lot that was going on in Germany, nonviolently, resisting with pamphlets.
Yes.
You know, other kinds of things, hiding Jews, and it's a history that we haven't seen picked up, and it hasn't been part of our cultural education in the way that it has about, well, we're killing these guys, we're killing this one, we're killing that one. Yeah. And that had a lot to do with the fall of Germany, because it was very demoralizing to people.
Uh-huh.
And so that's very important to see what the courage was.
Yes.
Of those people.
Yeah.
There's a resistance museum in Berlin kind of devoted to that, where they have files of different people who were just ordinary people. You know, bakers, there's one guy who's a prize fighter. I mean, some of these people got killed. Some of them went to prison and were liberated. Some of them escaped. But their stories are very, very interesting. Yeah.
I've often thought, you know, Bonhoeffer was in this country studying, and he got an invitation to go down to South Africa to meet Gandhi, actually. And he went to Germany instead. And I often wonder what would have happened had he. I mean, he felt a need. I mean, there's no condemnation. Jesus, you know, his country is going to hell in a handbasket.
But he was back in Germany. He was killed.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you know, so yeah, there are, you know, and I think what happened was, I think, you know, after Vietnam there was this letdown. But, you know, I still think, and I want our viewers to think about this. Some of us lived through the 60s and 70s. And in those years, we had the most terrible deaths. I mean, Martin Luther King, Kennedy, Malcolm X, all these deaths. And we didn't lose our determination. We didn't lose. We didn't become despondent. We didn't lose our enthusiasm. We didn't lose our hope.
Right.
You know.
Yep.
And I think it's and we also had good music, but that's for another.
Well, folks have good music now too. We just don't know that music.
But we need to keep going, and I'm heartened that there is a Demilitarize Western Mass.
Right.
And it's not just Demil, but we're also part of a coalition of people who are working for peace and justice here.
Yeah, Jewish Voice for Peace.
Jewish Voice for Peace, yeah.
River Valley for Palestine, and I mean, there's all kinds of groups here.
But these things are happening all over the country
That's right.
and all over
Yes.
the world.
Yep.
I just read an article about the Navy Yard in New York City, where they have two weapons manufacturers, where people have been there and doing that over and over. And we've
Yep.
had, some of us have had contact with another L3 group in Brighton, England, who are taking action against their facility in their town.
Yeah. Someone was asking about that. Can you shed a little light on that? Because L3 Harris
sure.
is all over the world.
It is all over the world. And they do have this factory in Brighton, England, where they've been demonstrating and trying to get it to close. And now, from what I understand, they are, L3 is renting space there. And so the folks that rent to them have agreed not to renew their license. But there's all the Palestine Action stuff
Yes.
that's happening in
Right.
Great Britain.
Yes.
Yep.
And some of those people have been found not guilty.
Uh-huh.
That
Oh,
was
that's right. I
it's
didn't
true.
know that.
Yes, yes. And but now, of course, they've cracked down a lot, and they've made it a terrorist organization, and they're arresting people for holding signs that say, "I support Palestine Action."
I think last weekend
support
over 900 people
Right.
were arrested behind that. Yeah.
And some guy in Scotland was arrested for having a T-shirt that said this, "From
Right.
the river to the sea."
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so interesting that from the river to the sea becomes such a hot button. You know, that the Israelis could say that, but no, not the Palestinians. And who was actually there from the river to the sea? You know, I love that story of people who visited Monticello, and in Thomas Jefferson's study, there's a big map of the world. This is 1777, 78, 1780, and there's Palestine on the map. You know?
Yeah.
So it's a reminder that, you know, and that, I mean, that's one of the drawbacks about being a person who lives and grew up in North America, in the U.S., you know, where that exceptionalism that we can condemn and call out is part of the air we breathe.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and to just just to call it out. You know, to acknowledge that that's what we've all been taught. You were talking about the propaganda, you know, the stories we're told, the myths we're told.
Right. Now they won't let us even tell the truth. You know, they're taking the books out of our libraries. We can't teach it in our schools, our universities.
Same.
Truth.
Smithsonian has to.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's these are tough times, and so we need tough people. And I'm glad, you know, we've got the older set of the Demilitarize here today, but it is multi-generational, and it's really important that that these young people are part of the organizing and moving forward.
Well, we've had some, you know, common work that we've done with students at Smith College who, in 2004, they occupied the admin building, I think, for 14 days. And
24, yeah.
yeah, in 2024.
Yeah.
Before Columbia, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And those students are so aware and so knowledgeable about U.S. colonialism,
yes.
and historically grounded in what's been going on. To me, it's very inspiring.
Yes.
And I think, wow, thank God they got here in time. You know.
And the UMass students, too.
Exactly. But I'm just saying, so there's a whole, you know, like generation of people who are very tuned in to the history of this white
today's
paternalistic nonsense.
Yeah, today's college students have got the light, you know, and I mean it's interesting to see it, and to support them and their resistance.
It's very important for us to do it as older people
Yes.
who are privilege because these students are now under a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone last night who's a professor at I think it's the University of Ohio, and it's in Columbus, his school, part of the school, and people who write on the sidewalk in chalk, free Palestine and whatever, can now get in trouble and get expelled from that school.
Wow.
Yeah. And so academia is more and more under pressure to erase from history very important information.
So,
And the First Amendment.
well, that's what I was just coming back to. What's happened to the First Amendment,
Right.
And that's the other thing that I think we keep exercising, whether it's walking around with the flag, whether wearing T-shirts,
Yes.
whatever it is, engaging in conversations with people,
Yep.
getting on programs like this to talk, to really educate people in the sense of what our rights as U.S. citizens are.
Yep.
This was the experiment that that was limping from the day it was written, but it inspires so many of us to the aspirations,
Yeah.
and I think that's what it holds. It's not realized. The ideals of this government, of this country, have never been realized, but some of us say, we can do it. We can do it.
Yeah.
We can keep moving that story forward.
Well, this young man who had the Charlie Kirk R.I.P. and was a Trump supporter, he said, I think the Second Amendment, right to bear arms, is more important than the First Amendment, free speech. I said to him, well, if it weren't for free speech, you wouldn't be out here on the curb with your sign. And he said, well, yeah, so.
And then he pulled out his gun and.
Yeah, I don't think he was. I actually don't think he was a violent person.
Yeah.
It was very interesting. Yeah. He said he'd been in court when we were in court that day.
Huh.
Actually, but he was there on some.
Yeah.
He said somebody had been against what he was saying about Trump and had kicked his car and this and that. So I don't know what that was all about. But it's interesting. Sometimes, probably. We all here have been in jail for varying amounts of time. But sometimes you'll see somebody who was in jail at the same time you are, and so there's a kind of camaraderie.
Yes.
One of my best friends I was in jail with, I met her in jail.
Is that right? Yeah.
In 2017?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not like, let's go to jail because it's fun, because it's not.
No, it's not fun.
But it's a very interesting thing about the bonds that can develop.
But it's much different for you and I than it is for many other people.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
And that's very important to recognize and know.
Yeah, the prevalence of racism. Even with that last flotilla, Chris Smalls had it much worse, a black activist, than anybody else.
In Israel.
In Israel, yes.
Right.
It's, say, by extension, Israel too. But yes, and certainly here,
And younger folks have it much worse than older folks lots of times.
Right.
Yeah.
So, we try to think of those things when we're planning
Yes.
actions. How do we keep each other safe?
Yeah.
Well, too, when you're talking about Israel, I think every time we talk about Israel and Gaza, I think we have to say that the United States is totally engineering what's going on.
Yes.
And rather than, the U.S. can't control Israel. No, that's not what's happening.
No. And so we're running out, we're coming down to the wire, and I just first of all want to thank Nick Mottern and Priscilla Lynch for coming today. You're not all of Demilitarize Western Mass, but you're good spokespeople, and I think it is important, that you've noted, that we do have young people, and how do we support one another, and they're as courageous as we are, and so do you have any last thoughts that you'd like to share with this wonderful audience who's hung in with us for this hour?
We're all in this together, globally.
Yes. So we are in this together, and it's good to know that that we're here and that we're not going anywhere either. The Palestinians are not going anywhere. The resistors in this country are not going anywhere. We're in this. We've been in this for the long haul, and maybe in our lifetimes we won't see the fruits of what we're doing, but we're part of that ongoing.
Yeah.
And we still have a First Amendment, and we have to keep exercising
Exactly.
it.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. I loved your response to the man. If you didn't have a First Amendment, you wouldn't be out here.
Right.
Yes. So another good session with good troublemakers.
And if people want to know more about us or connect with us, they can contact us at Demilitarize Western Mass at gmail.com.
Demilitarize Western Mass at gmail.com.
With a Z, not an S, in demilitarize, yeah.
Yes. Great. Good. Well, thank you both.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming up to Greenfield,
Thank you.
and thank you for listening and watching us. And I hope you got inspired and will take your own actions or join us too.